Ichigo awakens by the lodge, chapter 80. A damned returned. At Las Noches, Stark's palace. The new king of the Hollows made his way to the palace of the previous Primera, once again wondering what to do with the title of Espada when he had less than 10 Rancor, wondering what was on the mind of the one with the aspect of isolation. He was being led by silent executions through the empty hallways of Stark's palace, and noticing a recurring element throughout Las Noches. The entire palace of Las Noches was gigantic and is populated by so few of anyone, barely more than 20 after the Winter War. Ichigo made a mental note to see if it could be rectified before they stopped in front of a doorway. Is this where Coyote Stark resides? Ichigo asked his guide, earning a mute nod from the figure. Thank you, dismissed, he said, prompting the Escuitas to flash away before knocking on the door. It was soon opened by a young girl, Rancor, with a lopsided horned helmet covering her green hair and left eye, along with wearing a rather scandalous outfit, given that she looked like a child. Lord Ichigo, she greeted with a bow of her head. I'm Lilianette Gingerback, Stark's Fracion. Follow me. She walked back into the tower with Ichigo close behind. I appreciate you coming to speak with him. Stark's been... He hasn't been himself lately. Ulquiorra told me he's usually lazing about or sleeping. Ichigo returned, going off what he was told about the Espada he hadn't met him. My dad said that his conversation with Stark involved myself and my power. What is the problem he's having? He asked before they came upon another door. Lilianette returned to the hybrid. Maybe his other half, but he insists on dealing with this himself, she said, making Ichigo raise an eyebrow at the other half bit. Stark and I only ever had each other before Aizen came along, and now you show up and reveal just how unlucky we were in the beginning. Without another word, she disappeared and left Ichigo with only one real choice: meeting with the Rancor in question. He pushed the door apart and found Coyote Stark facing him, sitting on a pile of pillows with his fingers crossed in front of him. I can't remember how many times I wished to be weak, he said suddenly, looking into his skin, to no longer be strong, that everything around me simply died. One day, in an effort to escape that isolation, I split myself in two, becoming myself and Lilianette. He stood up and walked to Ichigo. Not too long after that, Aizen found and approached me, offering the chance I longed for. I served him until the war, and you appeared, proving to be like my complete opposite. I was alone because of my power, and you had compassion despite yours. Answer me this: how could you be so strong and still have companions? Was I just that unfortunate to be a hollow? Would it have been different if I was Soul Reaper? Would I have those same friendships that you do if I was a protector? Ichigo took in everything Stark said to him, closing his eyes in thought as he pondered the matter. It may be that it was your bad luck in being a hollow, Ichigo admitted, opening his eyes to match Stark's gaze. But you also proved that you're wrong with the existence of Lilianette. He held up a hand and generated a large ball of reishi. The burden of the mighty has always been controlling their power. The common way is when Shinigami apply seals to themselves. A random symbol appeared on the ball, and it shrank to a quarter of its size. That was because they've learned how to do so for the purpose of wandering the world of the living without causing a disturbance. The sphere returned to its normal size before splitting in two, one big and one small. From what I understand of the Rancor, you've learned to separate yourself into parts. However, it also seems that you were the first to do this practice and established it for future and Rancor. The sphere disappeared as Ichigo refocused on Stark. You created something that didn't exist before, and did so because you wanted something and found how to get it. You might be the greatest of the Rancor, finding your own way when the others followed or stayed isolated. I certainly never felt great, the Coyote returned, averting his gaze from the hybrid. I hated every single day of that isolation. He soon felt a hand on his shoulder to see something he never saw before with Aizen, a genuinely kind smile. You are the only one isolating yourself now, the Hollow King told him. You have your fellow Rancor, Jin, so many more friends to make, and most of all, your other half. Ichigo looked to the side, prompting Lilianette to come out of hiding and join in Stark's side. So, if it helps, I now appoint you as the protector of Rancor, which means you now have to go and talk with others. Stark let out a quick snort of laughter at his king's subtle way of telling him telling him his aspect no longer applied. And while you're at it, gather more hollow that might make for good Rancor. This castle is way too empty. He shouted as he turned and left, leaving the Coyote alone with himself. Come on, Stark, Lynette shouted, pulling along her other half. You heard the king. Time to get to work with our allies. Stark let out a tired groan of irritation, trying to disguise the smile he was now wearing. Urahara Shoten, Squad 15 barracks, with Ishin. They have been doing well in class, Yamamoto said to Ishin via video communication, who had just told him what his daughters wanted. But while I certainly believe that they've had plenty of experience and training, I still disagree with letting them in the live exercises. With all respect, sir, I wouldn't have it any other way. Ishin returned to the dragon. In comparison to their brother, their training has been far easier, which isn't even taking into consideration the difference in power and ability, which was like comparing a match to a bonfire, he said while thinking back to the years of training he put his kids through. Ichigo was always half their age when he started, and they got started in junior high, all while trying to keep it to a hidden minimum to avoid suspicion. I'll break the news to them. I didn't say no, Ishin. The head captain interrupted, earning a confused look from the father. I simply disagree with the idea. They are still far too young, but they do have the potential, and whether I admit it or not, they are Ichigo's ultimate vulnerabilities. I dread to think of what might happen if Yuabaka got his hands on them, he said, making Ishin think about relieving his worst nightmare with someone more vile than Aizen. So you have them participate? The Squad 15 captain asked. They'll watch first, Yamamoto answered. I'm going to ask Jin and Ichigo to gather the weakest combat-capable hollows possible to increase the difficulty of the exercise. Since it's happening in your jurisdiction, I trust your division will be there to contain the matter. Ishin nodded in affirmation of his leader's orders. Good. Afterward, we can have Yuzu and Kaden get their practice in. Last Noches training grounds with Ichigo. Ichigo found himself in a rare moment of solitude, and Jin received the order to gather Cannon Father Hollows for the latest live exercise of the academy students, and instead of joining him like he was asked, Doni insisted on doing it instead. Stark was getting better acquainted with the other Rancor, while Ulquiorra and Grimjaw went out to recruit more Rancor, so the Coyote could learn to bond with his allies. Thus, with nothing better to do, Ichigo tried to work on visualization exercises to better utilize Kyoka Suiketsu's Shikai. He sat in a meditative state, trying to create an image in his mind as the Reishi gathered and took form in front of him. It was a black feather form, his Bankai state, black feather form, his Bankai state, or that was what he was going for. It was the general form, but none of the finer details. Just a shape with an aura of red around it. He released a sigh of frustration as the Reishi dissipated. Trouble, Lord Ichigo, he heard from behind, seeing Halle Bell with her fashion coming towards him. Difficulty in your training? Unfortunately, yes, he said, rising from his seat. It's just like when I tried to manifest my bow. He activated his Quincy bow, only getting an ethereal cloud of black reishi shaped like a bow. I could get by with my power, but Kyoketsugetsu demands a final control, demands that I think more in battle, and I've always fought with my instincts, acting without thought. And if you're in a fight, you'll need to focus on your thoughts. Halibel added, understanding the difficulty her liege was facing. If you would have me, I'll spar with you, she offered, earning a raised eye from Ichigo. You're aware of my power, right? He asked, getting a nod in return. So why ask him? I also know that you are being restricted in the power you can currently access, she said, pointing at the seals on his clothes. And I've been wanting to fight you myself. She grabbed her hollowed blade and stood ready to fight. I've heard what others say about you, but I want to see for myself the kind of power the kind of person you are. Ichigo unsheathed Kyoka Sugetsu and readied himself to fight him. Shatter, Kyoka Sugetsu, he whispered as Halle Bell charged at him. He tried and failed at creating an illusion of him moving on one way as the Rankarin intercepted him and tried to slice his side. Ichigo growled in frustration while the blade failed to cut through the clothes single model made, getting more and more irritated with his failure. What am I doing wrong, Kyoka? He roared mentally, dashing away from Halle Bell and attempting another illusion where he went off to the side. I was hoping you'd recognize it for yourself, she told him as Halibel shot blast of energy at him, but that probably won't happen since you've always pushed yourself. The shark charged a zero in her blade and swung it at her king, which Ichigo cut through with ease. You've got to be kidding me, I'm trying too hard, that cliche, he roared angrily as Halibel activated her resolution. I actually fell into that. The dark-skinned Rankar shot a barrage of water droplet bullets that Ichigo either dodged or deflected. You seem to think that Aizen created images out of nothing, that there was never anything when you thought you saw something. The Sanpakto returned as Halibel closed the distance and tried and overhead the strike on Ichigo. But that was not what he did to make himself so dangerous. It was always misdirection, seeing one thing as another. That's what I'm trying to do. Ichigo knocked the massive blade aside and thrust his blade into Halibel, sending her flying back. You forgot how much you need to alter. A single thing that can end a fight instantly, she said before going silent, confident that her wielder could figure out the rest. Faith that wasn't misplaced as Ichigo closed his eyes, focused his mind and got ready to strike. Halibel raised her blade to her right side to block a swing, only to change and block from a different angle despite Ichigo not moving. Physically, at least in his mind, he was readying a new strike to Halibel's shoulder. She blocked only to see the blade coming for her opposite side and getting cut. She took a step back as she saw Ichigo pull his blade away and into a high stance. Reacting automatically, she prepared for an overhead strike and was rewarded with a cut across her thighs that she only saw at the last second. Before her, Ichigo was moving one way 1 second and another the next. A single fate can end a fight, and a single second is all it takes to change one completely. Ichigo recited one of the many main principles of combat that his teachers drilled into his skull. That the course of a fight can change instantly. The spark continued with Ichigo getting as much practice with his illusion as he felt comfortable with, trying to avoid damaging his partner too much. Halibel was benefiting as well. Her reflexes sharpening with every strike. She was able to see the real attack at the last second and successfully block about 25% of the time. She was about to perform another attack when Ichigo sheathed his blade. That's enough. Thank you, Halibel, he said, freezing her on the spot. Are you sure, Lord Ichigo? She asked, surprised with the thanks. But Baragano would toss away lives without care, while Aizen would offer his kind words, which were always hollow to the observant. This was the first time the Rankar heard someone with such power say such words and actually mean them. I feel we're making progress in this bar, so should we not? Ichigo lightly pushed her, and she felt a sense of vertigo from blood loss. You're covered in cuts, and this is your lesion, he said as the Tres Bestias came to their mistress's side. I heard your aspect was supposed to be a sacrifice. I understand the meaning, but do not make any sacrifices if it can be avoided. You are not my pawns. You are my comrades. He looked at the Amazona de Fraciona. Get her to Roca. It's late for her. And with that, he left to go to his bay chambers. Karakura town with Chad. Night fell upon the city as the peace following Aizen's defeat continued to reign. The knowledge of the coming war with Quincy did put an edge on everyone, but for now they all took what they could get. Chad had finished doing what Kisuke referred to as a spirit rehabilitation to try to recover from his use of Double Gigante, and was now walking home with Jackie. Ever since his fight with Yami, she's been spending more time with him and helping as she could. The two were sparring earlier and are now ending the day. How soon before you think you'll be back to 100%? She asked as they made their way through the town, enjoying the rare silence of the city since Ishin gave his squad some leave time. Think you'll be ready in the time for the Quincy? Sato brought his fist up and looked at it, feeling the power inside his being. I'm not sure I'll actually fully recover, but I will be back in fighting shape before the attack, he said, sounding confident, though he might have been trying to convince himself that he'll be fine. The setback was such that he could only use his giant's right and devil's left, not his doble brazos, and he couldn't even consider his max. I'm just glad that the fight is over for now, he said just before sensing a familiar presence. Wait, Do I know this, Retsu? He thought before Jackie pushed him away as something slammed down between them. I found you. It sang in all too familiar tone. When Chat swore to remember as he beat the owner to near death before Ichigo sent to hell. Now time for some payback. Jackie appeared by Chat's side and helped him up. Old friend, she asked as they looked at the figure. He was rather large with long protrusions on his forearms. The Chat knew held wings with small lengths of chains hanging off his arms. He wore a big black coat that concealed his body and had white gloves and boots with a light bulb-shaped mask that was expressionless and split between white and gray. One that should be in hell, Chat said, immediately activating his full bring. His shield didn't manifest, but he would make do. Jackie quickly joined Chad in going to her max level and getting herself covered in filth. How did you get out? He demanded. He demanded of the returned shrieker. That's my little secret, he said, jumping at the full bringer. The two dodged using bringer light. Chad was charging an El Directo while Jackie started attacking as hard and as fast as she could. The grunts of Shrieker echoed through the air as he withstood each attack until she kicked him upwards and into the clear for Chad. He was about to fire the energy blast when he saw something come out of Shrieker's mouth. Chad recognized the tongue and looked to see him and Jackie surrounded by the little monster Shriekers always had him. Jackie, run! And Chad cried out as a high-pitched noise rang out. After the imp started spraying the explosive leeches, the two barely managed to escape the explosion and get to the air where Shrieker was waiting for Chad. The sinner immediately started punching Chad, throwing him back to the ground before holding out his arms and firing a barrage of explosive bullets at him. Die! Die! Shrieker cried out, wanting to taste the sweet revenge as much as possible, but not risk too much exposure. Feel my suffering! He yelled as Jackie blindsided him with an axe kick to his head, stunning the man as she delivered another kick and sent him flying down. That bitch! He growled as he examined his cloak, making sure he was still covered. I'll take my time with her next. He turned and received a hard punch to his mask, sending him flying and almost breaking him. That did hurt. But I went through worse, Chad said, panting heavily due to all the explosions he withstood. He was burned and bleeding, but he refused to drop. Shrieker rose back up and felt his mask, grunting in annoyance. Damn it, guess that's it for now. A ring of blue fire appeared behind him as he slowly sank into it. You won't be so lucky next time. I'll come back from hell as many times as I need, until I finally... Jackie interrupted him with a kick to his side, knocking him away from the portal before she jumped away from it out of fear. Chad took the chance to dash to Shrieker and grab him by the mask, guessing that it had some importance to the sinner's presence out of hell. You're going back to hell! Chad promised, strengthening his grip until the mask shattered. The way you deserve! The visible eyes looked at the Fullbringer in fear as Chad lifted and threw him into the air. The gates of hell soon appeared and opened a chain wrapping around Shrieker as the massive blade stabbed into him again. The cries of the damned falling on the deaf ears of all the while. Jackie used her clean boots to remove the filth before going to Chad's side, just as he collapsed. Meanwhile, on the rooftop overseeing the pair, each took full measure of the situation. We're never gonna catch a break, are we? Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers, Hellbell's opening. So, Lady Hellbell, what do you think of our new king? Posse asked her mistress as they helped her along. I want his children, she said almost instantly, shocking her three subordinates. That must have been a rough fight. She's not thinking clearly. Neither of those followed, not believing what she just heard. I've never felt this hot before. The water Arlankar said, prompting both Mila and Posse to pick her up and rush to Rosa. Certain the leader was delirious from blood loss, with Sung's son by her side. I didn't think a shark could get so thirsty. Mayuri's progress. What are these readings? Urahara asked as he went to his lieutenant to help analyze something new popping up in the living world, only to find Mayuri buried under scrambled balls of paper. Are you okay, Mayuri? Other than another dead end with the Rankar experiments? Peachy! The psychopathic scientist grumbled out. He then screamed in frustration and burst out of the pile. So close, and it was just dead end. At this point, I'm tempted to clone the missing parts and surgically implement them. Odd way to make a hollow hole. Urahara returned, forgetting about his unknown scans. Did you try it? No, because it's ridiculous. Want to try anyway? Yes, actually, Kurosuchi said, calming down immediately. I could use the distraction. End of chapter 80.